Hey guys, how are you? I'm Josh with Fix on Fitness.
I'm Kinsey. Today we're just going to take one of the most basic movements, one that we do all the time at Fixed on Fitness, and one that you're going to see in a variety of fitness programs, probably everyone out there, and that's going to be the push-up. So today we're just going to talk about 4 basic flaws that we see pretty much across the board when it comes to push-ups. So we're going to talk about...
Yeah, so a lot of the flaws that we see, one and the most important is going to be our trunk stabilization, keeping that core tight the way we should. And we're going to run you through a sequence of things to think about to keep your core and trunk stable. A lot of elbow placement we find flaws with, so we're going to get you set and get your elbows in the right place. If you do modify push-ups, we're going to try to get that modification out, and we're going to show you how. And then also head placement, where we're looking up instead of looking straight and keeping our spine in line. So we're going to hit 4 different flaws that we see commonly on the push-up.
All right, so here we go.
So what I want to start with is just the trunk stabilization. So what we're going to do is put Kinsey in a plank. And so when we plank, what we went to over the years is planking up top and a lean and rest on our hands here. And what you'll notice is that her feet are together, okay, and her feet are together so she can engage her glutes and keep her backside engaged. When she engages her glutes and she's taking her belly button and she's pulling that belly button up into her spine, okay, and if you notice her head, her spine is in alignment. She's not looking up, she's looking straight ahead, so her spine stays in alignment. But with this trunk stabilization, feet, we want to keep them together. Your backside and your glutes, you're keeping that squeeze. And your belly button, what you're thinking about is keeping that belly button tucked in tight and trying to put that belly button up into your spine with a straight spine looking forward. All right, so from here, if you've got the plank down pat, what we're going to do is lower to the ground, and we'll show you the sequence from a chest to floor push-up. So go ahead and lay flat all the way down to the ground. Okay, so if you can start up top in a quality plank, all right, and when you get down to the bottom, if you can't get down to the bottom in a clean push-up, what I want you to do is take a chest to floor, which is what Kinsey just did. While she's down here, she's going to run through that same exact sequence. Her feet are together, her glutes are engaged, her belly button is tucked in tight, and go ahead and reach through so they can see that your hips aren't on the ground. All right, so her hips never touch the ground if her trunk is engaged properly. All right, now when she pushes up, obviously she's going to try to push up in one solid line. Now that would be a perfect push-up, but come back down and slowly lower yourself down. Now if that's a no-go, and for many of you guys watching that might be, if you're worried about doing, you can relax. If you're worried about doing like a worming motion with your push-ups, I'm not really worried that much about worming up top as long as you run through this sequence that we're showing you. As long as your glutes are engaged, your belly button is tucked in tight, so you're thinking, you know, backside, belly button, and breathe. If you have to worm up top, so kind of push where you have to worm a little bit. So you saw that worming motion come up top. That is not going to be a problem as long as she stays engaged. And you'll notice where she ends every single push-up is exactly where we started in the plank. Go ahead and lay flat back down. When this becomes, go ahead and relax. When that worming motion becomes a problem, and what we're trying to eliminate here is her vertebra getting eventually bone on bone. If you're watching this, you probably want to be able to exercise for a long time. So longevity and staying healthy is the name of the game. And I'm going to show you a demo in just a second. If our trunk is not properly engaged, our vertebrae start going back and forth, all right, right there. So now we start with some cartilage on cartilage, and eventually, if we do that worming motion, do it one more time and come all the way up top. If you worm and come up top, eventually we're just going to end up grinding, and grinding, which is why in the beginning of this push-up, it is so important whether you start up top in a plank or whether you start down at the bottom on chest to floor, run through that same sequence. Feet are together, backside is engaged, belly button is tucked in tight, and we're going to breathe out when we push up top.
Alright guys, so now that we've talked about the trunk stabilization, we're going to talk about the second flaw that we see, probably the second most common flaw, and that's going to be the elbows flaring wide. We tend to call it chicken arm or chicken wing at Fixed on Fitness, and it's something that is more prevalent usually in females than males. A lot of us as females have gone our whole lives, myself included, doing push-ups with wide arms. So we're going to show you just a quick fix on how to get our elbows where they need to be.
Okay, so before you take it down, stay up top. The issue that she's talking about here is if your arms, okay, are straight out to the side and we're trying to do a push-up, Instead of being back, if you look at Kenzie's shoulder when it comes forward, it internally rotates, putting too much pressure on this anterior part of her deltoid and creates instabilization inside her shoulder. So we're going to take that problem away, and we're going to get her elbows corrected where they need to be to get your push-ups going from an internally rotated shoulder to correct push-up form. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll have Kenzie demo again for us. So what she's going to demo in the beginning here, she's still going to run through her correct stabilization with her core that we just ran through. But as she lowers herself to the ground, we're going to show you the flaw. And the flaw is elbows go ahead and lay flat. Elbows coming too far out to the side. Come back up again one more time. I want you to do it, but I kind of want you to exaggerate coming out to the side because I see a lot of clients almost hit a straight 90. So come all the way out to the side. There you go. That and lay flat. That's what I see a lot of, okay? And what happens, what I was talking about just a second ago, is we're putting way too much pressure on this anterior deltoid, and her shoulder is internally rotated when we do this. To fix that problem, if you take a push-up all the way to chest to floor, a good way to hit a reset is to simply lift your hands. Now, you saw when she lifted her hands, they automatically slid back in and came closer to her chest. You don't have to have a wide grip on a push-up. So if you do a chest to floor and you lift your hands, your body most likely will naturally just take those hands right back to where they need to be. In the beginning, when you're changing these up, if you do have an issue with your elbow coming out to the side, you might want to think about keeping your elbows tucked in a little bit tighter than you should. All we're really looking for is about a 45-degree angle here coming back with those elbows. But in the beginning, if you concentrate on keeping them tucked in, it will help you over the course of many, many reps, because the more tired that you get, the more your body's going to want to kick in muscle memory and go back to where you're used to being. So when you get tired, your body's naturally want to go back to what it's used to, and we're going to try to break that habit. So in the beginning, you might need to keep them tucked in. But you'll see now as she pushes herself back up, and then she'll lower herself back down, you can watch her elbows are coming back at a 45. We're engaging the muscles the way that they were intended to be engaged with a push-up. We're not putting too much pressure on the front of her shoulder. They're not internally rotated, and we're hitting her tris and her pecs and her deltoids the way we're supposed to. Okay, the third flaw that we're going to hit here is a modified push-up. Over the years, we've slowly got away from modifying. Old school thought was if you can't do a perfect push-up, then you need to do a modified push-up. The problem with this comes that we're never able to get off of a modified push-up, and we're not able to engage our trunk the way that we're supposed to, and we start to get some sagginess as we modify and push up, which goes back to what we talk about, getting that bone on bone down in our lumbar region of our vertebra. So what we're going to do is just show a modified push-up real fast.
The old way.
The old way. So this kind of used to be where everybody would go to. If you couldn't do a regular push-up, well, then I'm just going to modify. And modify was dropping to the knees. Now, her elbows are exactly where they're supposed to be, and she's trying to engage the way that we talked about, but you can notice when she comes up top, this is not nearly as clean as it was when we came up top on a regular push-up. When she's on her knees, she is not able to engage her glutes and her backside and pull that belly button up and keep that trunk stabilization the way that it needs to be in order to incorporate a regular push-up over the future, okay? It gets a saggy motion in here as time goes, versus if she comes up on her feet, one more time on this, now she can engage that trunk properly. She'll go down to the ground. If need be, she'll do a chest to floor. Even if she has to worm a little bit, her trunk is engaged, and her trunk is deciding where her range of motion is at and her muscles are, and not her vertebra. That's it.
All right, so the fourth flaw that we're going to talk about is just simple head position. Head position is something that is really easy to forget about, and it's something that is kind of first to go as we get tired. So really paying attention to head stabilization and where your neck is in relation to your spine is going to help you generate a little bit more power with each push-up. And that goes with any movement, a pull-up, a squat, a thruster, anything like that. We have to make sure our head placement is where it needs to be.
Okay, so we're going to demo one more time. And I see this in female clients. I see it a lot with anybody that I've ever had that has served in the military prior. But what happens is, go ahead and look up. Okay, when we look up, she breaks spine right here, okay? And when she breaks that spine, she's gonna lose power on this exercise. And like she just talked about, you're gonna lose power on any exercise, especially a deadlift or a squat like she talked about. So when we do, go ahead and do a push-up while you're looking up, okay? She's coming down and she's coming up top. That is a flawed movement because her spine is not in alignment. Now go ahead and put head placement where it should be. Oh, okay, go ahead and you can do a second. Okay, another thing that happens, if you're doing push-ups for time or you're doing too many reps with not good form, what will tend to happen is that neck will start to sag down like you can see it is now. She broke spine stabilization again, just in the opposite direction. So where we want to be is we want to keep that spine in line, locked out, eyes are looking straight down, you got it, and everything is in order, everything is in line, and we're down to the ground, and we're coming up top on a perfect push-up. And that'll wrap it up for our push-up flaws and how to get a perfect push-up done.
We hope this helped you guys. See you later.